Now back to Inside Real Estate. Here's Mike the Realtor.
Hey folks, we are back. It's Inside Real Estate with Mike Kruizinga. Website InsideRealEstateRadio.com, InsideRealEstateRadio.com. We've got our favorite folks, Brian and Karen Holloway here from Lone Star Transfer. They are your experts in getting you out of your timeshare. We're going to talk timeshare exit strategy, and today we're going to talk a little bit about maintenance fees as well. Those dreaded maintenance fees. If you're a timeshare owner, you know what we're talking about. By the way, their website, LoneStarTransfer.com. Guys, how are we doing today?
We're doing great. Thank you for having us.
Great. How you doing, Mike?
I'm good. Good to see you guys again. And so, those maintenance fees really are dreaded. And so let's talk about why they are dreaded because they're so expensive, and talk about the fact that really they can change all the time.
That's right. And this time of year, timeshare owners are pretty much not really wanting to go out to their mailbox and looking at that maintenance fee bill because they have no idea what that amount is going to be.
Right. Tell me why this maintenance fee can change so much.
It really depends on the resort. I think across the board, most timeshare owners experience an increase in their maintenance fees every year. Sometimes it's a lot, and sometimes it can be a small amount. But when you're talking about a perpetual contract, it can really add up.
Yeah. And the thing about these timeshare contracts is that there's really no limits or constraints in them. They are really written openly from the perspective of the timeshare company, and definitely not the consumer by any stretch. So if you wonder why, how can it keep going up and up and up all the time? Well, there's really nothing in the contract that says it can't. And so since they can, then they do.
Yeah, there's various reasons. And a little story, growing up in Rockwall, my sixth grade teacher coming into our office one time, and we helped her out of her timeshare, and she had showed us her bill where they increased by they doubled in the amounts because one resort bought out another resort. So there's various reasons why they can go up.
And a lot of times, and in some cases, maybe there's some legitimate reasons, if you will, as legitimate as it can be, for timeshares, when you're just a fractional owner. But it's really unfortunate that people get into some of these situations and they just keep getting taken advantage of.
Yeah, I'd have to say timeshare owners feel that way in a lot of cases. A lot of timeshare owners bought their timeshares years ago, and they loved it, and it worked for them.
Right.
But and those maintenance fees might have been even a little bit annoying back then. But boy, when you haven't used it for a couple of years and you are still required to pay those maintenance fees, it can really, really be disturbing to a lot of timeshare owners.
Yeah, and the way inflation is, and those fees just keep going up and up and up. It's pretty ridiculous. And we've said this before. If you are a timeshare owner and you're a happy timeshare owner, well, then by all means, that's great. We're not here to say timeshares are just a horrible, horrible thing. But unfortunately, the consumer voice really is what it is on timeshares, and that there's just too many horror stories about it. And so where there's smoke, there is fire, and I would always encourage people, if you're thinking about a timeshare, there's a lot of better ways to go. But if you are in one and you happily got into one, there's probably going to be a time at some point in the future that you're going to want to get out of it. And you're going to then think, well, I'll just get out of my timeshare. Well, not so easy. And so you're going to need some of the folks like Lone Star Transfer to help get you out of it. But along with maintenance fees, let's talk about, there's also these things called special assessments. Isn't that right?
Yeah, there is. Special assessments can come up and above the maintenance fees, and you really don't have any idea how much it can be and when it's coming. So not only when you go out to that mailbox and you find the maintenance fee bill, a lot of timeshare owners are very concerned about being hit with a special assessment.
Yeah. And it's not that you can just disregard these maintenance fees letters or special assessment letters, because they'll get pretty stingy and come on after you, won't they?
Yes, sir. We've seen some different things. People have showed us several different letters where, they come after them different ways. Attaching to their credit, just coming after them legally, and it's a bill that they have to pay.
Yeah. And I wish, everybody, the timeshare process is so brutal when you're actually going through a timeshare process, and for whatever reason, maybe you get talked into it and you just go with it, and you're like, oh well, let's just do it. And, if we don't like it in a year or two, we'll get out. But the fact of the matter is once you sign it, you're in it and you're not getting out. And give me a story about somebody that just hit that reality. Like they got into it and they actually really did want it. Or maybe they got into it thinking, oh, we'll use it a year or two and then we'll get out. But then reality set in, you can't get out of it. Tell me a little bit about a story. I know you got a gazillion of them.
Yeah, we do.
About one of those where just reality hit and they're like, we couldn't get out of it. We tried and we just didn't know how strong this contract was. And I know that reality hits for so many people.
I'd have to say probably the majority of our clients. And we were just sitting with somebody last week that came into our office and just had no idea when they signed on that dotted line really what was going to be required of them, if they were using that timeshare or not. And for this couple, they were finding it very difficult to get what they wanted. They were under the impression that when they bought the timeshare, it would be a little bit easier to use. And it was very difficult for them. And they really felt like what was told to them did not work out.
Right. Yeah, and I think, so many consumers out there have had this experience where somehow they do get into the timeshare, even thinking maybe it'll be good for a few years, and then they'll get out of it later. But then thinking that it's going to be easy to use, that maybe it's a good thing. Maybe they do see all the pros and the benefits of doing it and get sold, if you will, on that. But then they come to find out it doesn't really work that way. And so, folks, you need to really think hard about, if you've ever thought about timeshares or even thought about going to a timeshare seminar for something free, oh boy, do not let them hammer you down unless you really evaluated it and you think it's the right thing to do, because guess what? It's going to be very difficult to get out of it. Folks, we've had a really good segment here with the folks over at Lone Star Transfer, the owners, Brian and Karen Holloway. Look, they're here to help you get out of your timeshares. Maybe there was a moment of weakness and you signed into one, but now you're like, oh my God, how do I get out? Lone Star Transfer can take care of you. They're right here in the Metroplex. Website, LoneStarTransfer.com, LoneStarTransfer.com, and the phone number 972-722-3166. If you just got one of those maintenance letters and you're like, oh my God, I'm tired of paying those maintenance fees. This is the last year. Call Lone Star, go to their website, and talk to Brian and Karen Holloway. They'll get you taken care of. Folks, Inside Real Estate, Mike Kruizinga. We'll see you in a few.